Can you guess which of these bikes has an AirTag mounted to it? Let's talk about some of the best and worst AirTag mounts. I don't even understand. I was gonna say bike holders. AirTag bike mount holders. That's AirTag holder bike mounts. Hello there, Jackson here. Today I'm going to be talking about some of the best and the worst bike mounts for Apple AirTags. Quick disclaimer, Apple does not promote AirTags as a theft prevention device. In fact, they do some preventative measures to prevent you from using them as a theft prevention device. But it's also sort of like Q-tips where they're not supposed to be used for cleaning your ears, but everybody kind of uses them for cleaning their ears. Yeah, they're cheap. They work great. With that being said, AirTags should not be the first step in preventing your bike from getting stolen. Stick around to the end of the video and I'll share a couple other tips for you. This video is focused on AirTags. I know there's a ton of other trackers, some bike specific trackers that have popped up in the last little while. I just don't know enough about them. But I am interested in doing a comparison video. So if you have any trackers that you're specifically interested in or heard about, drop a comment and maybe I'll do another comparison video. So I want to give you my criteria for what makes a good AirTag mount and what makes a bad AirTag mount. So first up is really simple, it's signal. You want to make sure that you're going to be able to find your bike again should it get stolen. And if you bury it inside of your bottom bracket, it's not going to be able to communicate with other phones. And that defeats the whole purpose. With that being said, I don't want the AirTag to be displayed anywhere on the bike. I don't want it to be obvious because that also defeats the purpose. If a bike thief knows there's an AirTag, they're just gonna get rid of the AirTag and go on with your bike, and then you'll never be able to find it. On the other hand, I do want it to be serviceable. I want to be able to access it pretty easily because those batteries do run out. You're gonna need to replace it eventually. And the last bit of criteria is what I like to call anti-meth head prevention. So I've had my bike stolen and recovered, and when I got it back, it wasn't the same as when it was stolen. Weird parts were exchanged and none of it really made sense. It seems like a lot of bike thieves don't really know how to properly work on bikes or know what a bike is supposed to be, so they're just swapping out parts and just trying to make it look a little bit different than when they stole it. And for the opposite side of the spectrum, the pro bike thief, I want a bike mount that's a little bit novel, a little bit different. Maybe it's more likely that they're not gonna take it off. First up on the list is the Stealth Tag. It is a cap that goes on the bottom of your fork and the AirTag goes inside of it. It's 3D printed with like a pliable TPU. I think that's what they call it. It's a simple idea, but it's pretty genius. The only caveat to this is it only works with a limited amount of forks, mostly suspension mountain bike forks. It can be a little bit confusing to figure out if it will work with your bike or not. This is one of my #1 picks. If you can run it on your bike, I would run it. I think it's great, it's discreet, it's pretty easy to set up. The only thing that I don't like about the Stealth Tag, besides the fact that you can only put it on a limited number of forks, is the fact that it looks like it's gonna be really difficult to get the AirTag out once you put it in there. Haven't tried it yet, but I'll let you know how it goes. For that reason, I'm gonna give it an 8.5 out of 10. So there are instructions on how to remove the AirTag, but to me, it seems pretty much near impossible. So I'm just gonna say that this is a one-time use. Dock at a point, bring it down to a 7.5. Found another version of this AirTag holder on Amazon. It looks like it might be a little bit more compatible with a wider variety of forks, but I'm not totally sure. I'll link it in the description so you can check it out for yourself. Wardrobe shift, you know what that means. Time to talk about today's sponsor. There isn't one. But I did want to take a moment to ask you guys to please subscribe to the channel. Make sure you drop a comment if you have any questions. Also, I've got all of these AirTag holders listed in the description. They're affiliate links. It would really help out. If you do want to get one of these, to buy them through those links. Just came out with a movie, worked on it for like 3+ years. I'm really proud of the way it turned out, and it would mean the world if you would give it a watch. I think that's it. Oh, check out foegang.com. Got some new merch. This one's limited edition, but there's gonna be more stuff coming soon if this stuff's gone. And let's get back into the video. Next up is the AIRBELL. The AIRBELL is basically just a bike bell with a little AirTag in it. It's pretty cool. On the scale of anti-meth prevention, it's pretty low. It's right on the handlebars. It's something that people can rip off pretty easily. I also don't want to run a bell on some of my bikes. I actually don't run a bell on any of my bikes, but honestly, if you aren't planning on running a bell, I wouldn't go with this option. Came up in my search last, so it doesn't seem like a very popular option for AirTag mounts. So maybe it's not as well known. That could be a benefit. And for that, I'm gonna give it a 6 out of 10. Solid 6 out of 10, maybe 5.5. Next up on the list is the Reflector AirTag mount, and I don't have one to show you because they're trash. Don't get a Reflector AirTag mount. Just like the AIRBELL, it's easy to remove from the bike, and it's gonna make you look like a total noob. Reflectors do not provide the adequate visibility at nighttime or daytime, and if you wanna be seen, just go get a light. I think they even make lights with hidden AirTag holders in them. I didn't get one. If they do exist, I will link it in the description. So I looked it up. There are no lights with an AirTag mount. I still think it's a really cool idea though. Maybe someone with some 3D printing skills could put something together. The saddle mount. I was more stoked about this thing at first than I am now. One, because it just seems like you could see it relatively easily. The person who stole your bike probably isn't the same height as you, so they're gonna be messing with your saddle, which means they're probably gonna find your AirTag. You probably got a really fast race saddle, and bike thieves are soft. They're gonna wanna change it out. They're gonna wanna put your grandma's, suspension seat on there. The thing that I do like about the saddle rail is that it's really universal. Besides BMX seats and seat posts, pretty much every bike uses the rail system, so it's gonna make it really universal. I have bikes that are stupid and don't have bottle cages, and on those bikes, I would use one of these. It's not the most hidden, but it'll work, so 5 out of 10. I wasn't actually able to finish the install on the saddle mount. I lost both bolts. I was installing it on my patio and they just disappeared. They're teensy tiny, and it's really awkward to install it because you're trying to get under the saddle and trying to clamp it on the rails, and it was just way more difficult than I had anticipated to install it. And I'm clumsy, that's a given, but it was way more difficult than I thought it was going to be. So I got to dock it at least a point for the install. Next up on the list is the top cap mount. This one is really cool. It basically just replaces your top cap and top cap bolt with a little device that holds it. And what I like about this one is it's really simple. It's a part that's already on your bike, so you're not really adding something new, you're just exchanging it. And it looks really nice. It's not very obvious in my opinion. The installation on this one is a little bit trickier than say the bottle mount, but I'm sure there's plenty of videos on YouTube that explain how to install it. The only thing that I don't like about this mount is there are some limitations with its compatibility. I'm a really big fan of the OneUp Components EDC tool. I think it's really genius how it works, and unfortunately you can't run that and this AirTag holder. Same thing goes for other steer tube tool systems. If your bike has any sort of proprietary stem steer tube combo like this specialized Future Shock, you won't be able to run this. For me, it's a solid option. I would definitely give this one an 8.5, 8 out of 10. Bottle mount AirTag holder. This one's by a lot, but there's a lot of different companies that are making this one. I like this one because it completely covers the AirTag. It's not visible. It's just really simple. It's easy to service, and it's still somewhat hidden. It's compatible with a wide variety of bikes. Most bikes have bottle mounts. That being said, I would probably only use one of these if I was gonna put a water bottle cage over it just to make it a little less hidden, because it does seem like this is the most popular style of AirTag holders for a bike, so a lot of people are using them. If you do decide to stack the mount and a bottle cage, you might need to buy longer bolts. Also, if you're on a mountain bike and you have a limited space, you might not be able to fit both a bottle cage and the mount. The bottle mount, it's the most popular. It's dependable, but it's also kind of boring. It's sort of like the missionary of AirTag bike mounts. And for that, I'm gonna give it 7 out of 10. So after I did this review, I ended up finding a bottle mount that I actually like a lot better, and it's almost the same except for the fact that it uses security bolts, which are basically a special little pattern. a little bit less common than Allen wrenches, and I just like it because if someone does notice the AirTag on your bike, it's gonna slow them down. They're either gonna have to cut it off or have that special little tool, and to me, that's a nice touch. Now, before we get into the last one, I just wanna mention that there are other non-bike specific ways to mount an AirTag on a bike. There's, you know, sticky pad AirTag mounts. You know, you could just throw it in a bag. If your bike frame has a little, I forget what they're called. They all have different names for it, but you know, little, why can't I think of the name for this? Little secret drawers. I'm gonna call it a little secret bike drawer. If your frame has a little secret bike drawer, you could just throw it in there, put it in a saddlebag. There's all sorts of ways to carry it besides getting one of these. Last up on the list is the MUC-OFF tubeless tag holder. Probably one of the strangest ways to mount an AirTag on your bike. Basically, the way this works is it goes inside of your tire. It's got little base plates, which I guess you can replace if they do break. And then it's got this little silicone cover condom type deal to prevent sealant from getting into your AirTag. And then all of that attaches to the valve. They're the only bike specific brand on this list, and I would prefer to support the bike industry. There are a couple caveats with the tubeless tag holder. One, you have to be riding tubeless. You also have to be having tires that are wider than 44s. MUC-OFF also says that you can't put this in your front wheel, which I think is very strange. I don't know if it's gonna mess up the centrifugal force of your wheel, or if they're just trying to look out for people having their front wheel stolen, because getting your front wheel stolen is pretty common for people who don't know how to lock their bikes. I would put this in my gravel bike, but I wouldn't want to put this in my mountain bike, because then I can't run a cush core or a tire liner that helps protect my rim. I'd also be worried about this thing breaking off inside of my wheel on a big hit and just rattling around. I don't know if I really want to clean this thing with all the Stan's gunky stuff on it. I gotta give MUC-OFF kudos for doing something different and doing something very, very novel. The other caveat is it's the most expensive AirTag holder on this list. And the reason for that is that you have to buy the MUC-OFF tubeless valves. It attaches to the tubeless valve, and it's a proprietary system, so you can't just hook it on there. And it ends up being around 50 bucks USD, which is pretty pricey. If you need to go buy new valves, maybe it's worth it. And I will say, these are nice valves. They come in beautiful colors. They also have the little core removal tool on the cap. Pretty nifty. I don't know. Let me know if you're interested in learning more about these. Y'all want me to do a long-term review? Let me know in the comments. A couple of other tips for preventing your bike from getting stolen. Number one, a nice lock. I prefer U-locks. Make sure that you know how to use it, because if you lock up just your front wheel and you've got quick release, then it's not gonna do you any good. On the topic of quick release, get rid of it if you can. I know that it's convenient, but I personally prefer to have bolt-on. There's nothing that you can do to fully prevent your bike from getting stolen. If someone wants to steal your bike, they will, given enough time and resources. But bolts just slow people down just a little bit more. Register your bike either with your local city or the manufacturer, just so that you have a proof and documentation that that bike is yours. I've had my bike stolen. It sucks, it's not fun. I've thought about doing a little like story time talking video. If you're interested in that, drop a comment. Maybe I'll do one. I've been talking about it for a whole while now. Thank you all for watching. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. It means a lot. I'll see you in the next one. Thank you for watching.